We're going to take a look at slotting the bridge on a Martin guitar, and this is more of an advanced class. I'm not going to talk about the whys and why you should slot a bridge and things like that. This is going to be more like you understand you need to slot your bridge, and this is just a discussion on how to get the nice curve that I like and the tools that I use. Okay, so here we go. And this is a 1962 D18, and this is a bridge that I made, so it needs to be slotted. So the first thing I like to do is make sure your pins fit. And to do this, there it is, I use a reamer. This one is from Philadelphia Lutheran. Stu Mack sells one just like this. It's a little bit more expensive. This one's pretty nice. You do want to get a nice, true 5-degree reamer. If you can, with a semi-fluted side, so there's round on this side, fluted on the other. It's a little bit slower to cut, which is what you want, and the fluted side keeps the hole round. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure your pin fits, and these all fit right now. I like to have that pin drop in there and drop right down onto the collar, just like that. I don't want to push it down, I just want it to drop. And it should fit nice without too much wobble. The string is going to put some pressure on it, and that's what we want. So, having done that, that's out of the way. The slot one, okay? So we're going to start with the high E. This is one of the primary saws that I use. This is made from Stu Mack, and it's going to work. You could use this for everything. We'll talk about the other one in a minute. I'm only going to do the E and the A on this one because this is a small string and this is a big string. We'll show you the different examples on either. So the first thing to do is just come in here like this. I like to put a pencil mark on the bridge, so to use as a guide. I also like to string the strings up with slotted pins first, so that the strings will put a little bit of an indentation on there. And also during my setup and all that kind of thing, while I'm working on the guitar, I use these, and I just do that to get a string mark on there on the bridge. But then I put a pencil mark in like this to indicate where it's supposed to go. Now, you gotta say it like this, and you might want to change you gotta, I'll try to drop the volume for this irritating raspy noise, but this is a slot. It goes straight up and down. And this is a ramp where you're going to increase this distance here. So I'll show you. Let me grab a high E string here, which is curled up around the headstock. I'm expecting FedEx to show up at any minute now, but I got tired of waiting and decided to go ahead and get busy on this. So we may get interrupted here. Having already decided that the pin fits, now what we're going to do is get the string to just fit. So we're going to put it in here, and of course the correct way to do this is to put the ball into the string about right there, and then push it down with the pin. And I may have to get me a little bit more slack here. There we go. Now this one fits, as you can see. So let me wrap that one around for you here. Gotta get this low E out of the way for a second. Okay, this one fits, and you can see there it fits. So this would be a string that is slotted but not ramped. The reason you ramp is to control the break angle of the string from here to the saddle. And this should be a little bit, I don't know, I'm going to ramp it just to show you how it's done. But what you're going to do now is control the break angle of the string a little bit. So I'm going to take my saw and I'm going to come in at a little bit of an angle. I'm only going to work on the top half of the slot. So I'm not worried about taking that ramp all the way to the bottom of the slot. I'm just going to work on the top half because we've already proven that the string will fit in there in the slot itself. So now we're going to work on the ramping. And to do this, I just kind of rotate the saw, and I actually saw off into the edge of this thing a little bit. Rotate it this way. Okay, let's stop right there. And that is the sort of ramp that I like to see, where it's got a curved front edge and it's a little bit wide right there. It's wide enough for the winding of the string right here. So you want that winding to lay in there, and you can set it in there and you can see, but let's push it into the pin again. The string's been bent a couple times, it's not cooperating. And you can see this thing. I'm going to bring the camera over here and show this to you. Let's stop right there. We're not going to put it in quite all the way. Okay, we'll get a close-up on this now, I hope. Now you can see the winding of the string right there, and the slot is approximately the same size as that. So it sits in there really nice, and it's a nice little curve, and this changes the angle of the string breaking out of here like this. Okay? So that's what I like to see, and it's not that hard to do. You just rotate your saw a little bit, and you actually physically cut into the sides of the slot. We'll go ahead and push that in, and this is what it looks like when it's pushed in. Let's come up a little closer. Okay? So that gave a stress relief across here to keep the string from wearing on the front edge of the slot. It's going to wear that front edge over time anyways, so you might as well create a little bit of relief there. Okay? And that's about as close as I can get this camera. Let's come in from a couple of angles here. Move the GoPro in like this. And I will put a saddle in a little bit, okay? So that's slot number one, and you basically just do that for all of them. There the GoPro. You just do that for all of them, and when you get to the wider strings, you just use a wider slot. Pretty simple. Now the second saw that I use is this one. This is a homemade one. I have a wider one from Stu Mac, but I didn't have it with me, so I went and made this. This is a scroll saw, and it's thin, meaning this way. So it's going to fit in the slot. It won't quite fit in the slot like this. You've got to cut a slot a little bit. It won't fit in the hole because it's just the right diameter. It needs to be just a hair thinner. So what you do, let's go over to the low E now. And bring the camera down again. Trying to get you on there, okay? Again, you find your mark right there from the string press or your pencil mark, and start your slot. Now, I'm going to control this one a little bit, so I want this low E to scoot over just a little bit because of the way the neck is angled and everything like that. For various reasons, I'm going to move this slot over just a tiny bit. So first thing I'm going to do is come in straight. You notice I use my thumb here as a stop. So I keep my thumb in there so I don't pull out and go wham and dive it into the top of the guitar. Use my thumb as a stop. And again, I'm rotating it and moving the saw this direction, and I'm actually physically cutting into the side of the slot like this, and then I'm going to rotate it this way and cut this way, and then I'm going in straight. And you can control that pretty well. Okay, let's try the low E, and it's not going to fit because it has to be a pretty big hole. I will tell you that. Strings are not cooperating today, so I'll show you that it's not going to fit. A little bit more slack. And it's not going at all, you know. So that's obviously got to be a little bit bigger. But what I did is I cut a little bit of relief groove, and now this saw will work. And this thing's really, really sharp and really, really grabby. It's a little bit hard to get it moving. But I've got it like this. So I can hook my finger underneath it. Straight up and down again. Obviously, because of the diameter of the low E string, it's going to automatically ramp a little bit because that string's got to come forward anyways, more so than the treble E. Okay, Now I'm going to take and do the same thing, and I'm going to work on the sides. So I'm going to rotate me this way. I'm going to work into the sides. Grabby. Got to open it up a little bit. I'm going to come back to the thin saw now that I have room. It's just hard. It's hard to describe it. As that slot opens up, you're going to have room to move the saw this way. When it's a narrow slot, you can't move the saw. The saw goes straight into here. But as you open that slot up, you'll be able to move your saw within the confines of that slot. You'll be able to round a little bit better. So I hardly ever finish with the big saw. I usually always come back to this way. I'm coming in at this angle, like this, rotating the saw, rotate the saw, rotate the saw. Saw into the edges of that hole. You don't have to worry, I don't worry, about getting this perfectly round, because the string is going to do that job for you over a year or so. The string is going to wear there, and it's going to naturally round that slot to match the string pretty good. Let's try it. Let's do a test fit. I always test fit, man. I test fit a bunch. And there we go. That one fits really nice. I've done this so many times that I can tell by eye about how much it's going to be. That's about as much as I'm going to do that one. So there's your low E. And you can see that the low E is fairly close to the saddle slot. This is my saddle, and I know it's going to happen here. But this is about as much as I'm going to go on the low E. I'm not going to move it too close to the saddle here, you see. I want about that much gap right there. Of course, it's dependent a little bit upon the height of the saddle, but having already done this guitar, you know, whatever. I have to have that much in there, that much slot for that pin to fit. So, you know, I've only got so much choice on this, okay? So that's the little tricks and tips about controlling your saw and getting your holes rounded on the edge like that. You can use files and you can do all that if you want to, but I find it just fine to just use the saw and rotate it and not have less tools I have to have on the bench. And the better you are with one tool, the better you are. You know, a good workman knows how to use those tools. So there you go. So I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of these and put the test saddle in there here, and then we will come back for another shot with the saddle in here so you can see what everything looks like. So we will be back. Alright, here we go. This is the slotted bridge with the saddle that this guitar is wearing. And I want you to look at the break angles here. So the low E is plenty good. I wouldn't move it up too much more at all up there. And the high E is a little bit on the shallower side, but it's still plenty good. It's not going to slip. If you were going to adjust any of these ramps, you could adjust the high E ramp just a little bit, come up to just a tiny bit more to sort of even out the break angles here if you wanted to. But that's still a plenty good break angle. And the trouble with increasing the size of that ramp is that this guitar has a fairly low action right now, and if somebody, the owner or anybody else, wants a higher action, they're going to raise the saddle. That's going to increase this break angle right here automatically. So if they do that, they can end up with too sharp of a break angle, and then they're going to have to come in and fill in your slot, your ramp, move your ramp back a little bit, and that's a complicated deal. And so this is a nice new bridge. And I am going to leave that alone. If anything, I might come to that G right there. You can look at that G and you can see that it kind of dives in and boom. This one might could use just a tiny bit more ramp to keep that sharp angle from happening right there. But that's about it. The rest of them look good, you know. Same with the D. The D might use just a tiny bit more ramp, the G and the D. The A looks really good, the E looks good. I might ramp these two strings just a little bit more. And again, curve that front like I showed. So there's some advanced techniques. It's not really an advanced technique. It's just some advanced thoughts about slotting the bridge. It's 1962 D18. Watch for an upcoming video. We'll see you later.